YDD is a dynamic institution of graduate development that delivers artificial intelligence, robotics, cognitive automation training, and learning that is updated accordingly with the fast-paced changing skills demands of the fourth industrial revolution. This is a first in South Africa. For more on this story, I'm now joined by YDD CEO Neo Kwaho and Yandisa Sokanyile, Head of Digital Connector eCitizens Engagement through Technology. Yandisa and Neo, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us here.
The fourth industrial revolution, that certainly means that we've gone through 3 stages of industrial change, as it were. The first one being the steam engine that led to mechanization. The second industrial revolution, that was about mass production. The third industrial revolution, which is where we are now, which was about computerization, essentially digitization, and the spread of telecommunications networks. And now we're entering the fourth industrial revolution. Now, starting with you, what does that mean in relation to the previous 3 stages of development?
I'd like to look at it from the key role players in all these revolutions that you've mentioned. In each of these revolutions, a certain set of skills, if you had those, it made you quite successful in being able to work and sustain yourself and earn an income. So I like to look at it from a concept of ages. We had the agricultural age. Then from the agricultural age, the star of that era was the farmer, you know. And as we moved on, we started now seeing an age of, as you mentioned it, the plant worker, the mass production, where the guys who were more physical and they could get in there, they could actually work. And then we started seeing now a new age that came, which was the information age, where we saw the knowledge worker becoming the star of the stage, where the knowledge worker, the professional now, the white-collar person, was the lead actor in the stage. Now I look at this age and I like to refer to it as the conceptual age, where this is an age whereby the star performer will be the guy or the woman that is able to unlearn and learn new things in light with the fast-paced changing technology that is coming into effect. And what we are seeing is we are seeing an integration that requires for one not to only have knowledge, but for one to also be creative at the same time. Because saying that you're a professional worker and you've got this knowledge, meanwhile at the same time in the last couple of decades or the last years, we've seen how the 3 A's, what I refer to as the 3 A's, have come to endanger the jobs of these people. I'm looking at it from a perspective of what type of jobs does this mean? It means that jobs are going to fade away as we know them. A study by Oxford University indicated that within the next 10 years, we are going to see about 45% of the jobs that we know and their nature being totally wiped out by the 3 A's, either automation, Asia, and I'll explain a little bit about Asia. Asia basically has become, or that side of the world has become that part of the world where your first world countries that are looking for your traditional knowledge workers and so forth, they are going there to look for those individuals who are able to program systems that can be able to replace the knowledge worker and do what a lawyer had to do in about 4 hours. They can develop a system that can reduce that work to almost a fraction of the time it used to take. So that's the Asia effect, you know. And the last one is the abundance effect. With so many things being created in abundance, we are seeing people being spoiled for choice. Now, what this simply means is if you are entering the market with a new product, if it just has functionality, you are in a lot of trouble. your consumers are now looking for something that goes beyond functionality. That's where the creativity that I refer to comes into play. So for me, what the fourth industrial revolution says, or the effect that we see it bringing about, we are seeing a situation where traditional jobs as we used to know them are going to disappear. It is estimated that by 2020, which is just 2 years from now, actually a year if you think about it, you know, by 2020 we will have shed 5 million jobs.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, there is a new demand for a new set and type of skills. Right. And the estimation thereof, when we look, we are looking at a projection of about 1.4 million jobs, give or take, between 1.2, 1.4 million according to code.org, that new jobs that will be there in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. However, at the rate at which globally we are producing talent that is able to assume these roles, we will only be able to get up to 400,000 skilled and trained individuals who are able to take up these new roles. So leaving a deficit, a big gap of quite a large number of roles that will not be fulfilled.
I think we'll come back to the question of skills and how we deal with that going forward. But over to you, Yandisa. At the core of all of this is what technology advancement is about, is looking for new and better ways to do things, for humanity to become more productive and more capable. So on the one hand, we can talk about all the fancy technologies underlying all of this, but at the core of it all is that we should be able to produce more with less.
This is exactly what this revolution is doing. I said this is very fast-paced and change is coming very soon. So we need to actually adapt very quickly. I think if you look at the jobs that are here right now, when you look at it, for companies, for business, it is very good because now you can be very effective. As a business, you are able now to replace a lot of jobs. You can get your systems done quickly. And also with this revolution, there's so much that can be done in terms of advancements of work. But looking at the same time that this creates an opportunity now, which means that we need to unlearn. Also, we need to look at the education system. We need to look at a whole lot of things. This is not just on the business front, it's also on the business sector. It's a business, it's also government and communities as well. So if you look at the jobs that are being created now, you have a lot of systems that are replacing a lot of bookkeeping, accounting. There's a lot of skills that are being replaced by these systems, which is for businesses, makes it very efficient. You can save on your cost, you can do your job effectively. But looking at that, it creates an opportunity now to say, how do we go back to our schooling system whereby we start teaching these jobs and changing the curriculum also and changing the mindset of looking at just only universities where you need to acquire a university degree, and also look at the technical schools or technical colleges whereby you can actually teach the physical skills and the practical skills of this revolution. If you look at now the robotics, you already have chatbots that are already taking over what a call center agent will be doing. So at this rate this is going, in 2030, essentially, there will be half of the jobs that most people are doing now will not be in existence, and there will be new jobs. So we need to move rapidly and actually take action fast to say which jobs can be created, upskill our people, change, look at creating new curriculum, also introduce new skill set whereby we can train these people. If a chatbot or a robot is going to take over any kind of work, so there has to be a person operating that. Also, for the guys in the creative space, it means upskill. Also, there are things that the robots will not be able to do, which is your creativity, you know, your personal skill, your interpersonal skills. So we need to upskill ourselves and actually empower ourselves to say, whatever that I'm doing, wherever you are, you can't be comfortable because you don't know what's going to happen to the job that you currently have.
Yeah.
If now companies don't need bookkeepers, they don't need call center agents, what more other jobs will be replaced by this revolution?
Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of practical examples, and you kind of led me in that direction because you mentioned chatbots, for instance, in the context of a call center. But we recently interviewed somebody that started an insurance business that is very data analytics and artificial intelligence driven. A company called Naked Insurance, and it's one of the examples of that, very technology driven. Other examples perhaps would be banking, moving in that direction as well. We are now in the advent of fintech, where you don't need the bank branches. You know, mobile technology is almost ubiquitous now, so you can go directly to customers without having to build big branch networks. Smart cities are another example. Management of urban infrastructures, whether it's water or traffic infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the practical examples of things that could get better. But what you've also just said is that part of the implication of that is a loss of jobs. Now that has social consequences that are quite profound. What happens to the people that lose the jobs?
This is why we say people need to start upskilling. So we need to, it still goes back to government. I always say this, the fourth industrial revolution, government needs to take charge and be the key player. Because when you look at all the sectors, it is all the sectors that include government, which is your energy, your transport, all of this, education, banking, everything. Government still needs to play a key role. Now, education needs to take lead and charge into this because we need new skill sets. We need to be creating that. Also, we need to be educating our people to change that mindset to say now, it has been like this before, where you all need to have a degree, a master's degree in this. But this era doesn't really require a degree. It requires practical skills. That's why you find that businesses now are able to trade with anybody. I will say what this has opened is open opportunity where you can trade with anywhere in the world. You can have employees anywhere in the world. We live in the world of freelancers where you can have some of your technical guys or developers living in a different country.
Yeah.
So this is what this does. So it's no longer about you physically going to work. People are working from anywhere in the world. You can work from your house and you could be servicing a client wherever. So these are things that we need to start teaching our people so that we unlearn all of that we have known and say now it has changed. Now you can be able with the access of internet and how things are moving, rather be upskilling yourself, look for courses. But if that information or those courses are not available to people, people will not know what to learn. Hence we say government needs to play a critical role in terms of how we change the education system, how we look at the current education structure that we have and say how do we then focus and not always act when things have passed. How do we focus for the next 30 years? Which skills are needed? What jobs can be created? So we start upskilling people right from primary school. If you look at other countries, 7-year-olds are busy coding. And with us, we still do not have that. And by the time, if you can compare our 7-year-old to a 7-year-old in China, there's a huge difference. By the time they're 13, they're already developing systems of which we still haven't learned that. So we need to be moving drastically in that space.
One of the things that strikes me now about this whole transition, I mean, first of all, you both said that it's moving at a really, really rapid pace. It requires a whole new set of skills that are not necessarily abundant in a country like South Africa, right? And Yandisa just mentioned how we need to be skilling kids from the age of 7 even to get them ready for this industrial revolution. But the education system works in 20-year cycles. You get to your first year of school at 5 years of age, and you finish, you know, your first degree 20 years later or somewhere around there, or your second degree or thereabouts. What it means is that we already now have a universe of maybe 30 million young people in South Africa that are underskilled. We now have to wait 20 years for them to acquire the skills to be able to do the things that we need to do here. How do we address that?
I'm glad that you mentioned that, and as Yandisa was just saying right now, in bringing the scope of government, and I love the fact that you highlighted the cycle at which, you know, that kind of change in the curriculum normally works on, because it's the one thing that I was thinking about, and that's why we set up what we set up as YDD. We recognize the fact that governments in their nature, and this is not unique to South Africa, but it is a global thing, in their nature they take time to pass laws that can affect policies that can force curriculum, just to make an example, to be more responsive to the current demand. So that is where I'm imploring our people and anybody that is currently paying attention to say, now it is time to take personal charge of the education and the learning. Because you need to realize that waiting for institutions to come up to speed to offer you the kind of training that you require might be a futile exercise in the interim. Meanwhile, you are left with no skills to be able to secure that job or to compete in the global market, because our borders are down because of the internet that has broken down borders. Now we are communicating globally, as Yandisa has alluded. So the first step we need to do is we need to take the responsibility of learning into our own hands. And we need to understand that now, if, unlike before, if your learning is going to be dependent on what you learn in a classroom, you will only know what whoever is teaching you. And your learning will be limited to that. So hence, in the programs that we run, we say we will give you as much information as we can in terms of the direction and what you should be exposing yourself to. And these are the basics. But beyond this, the speed of change is so incredible that waiting for us to catch up, to include this into our curriculum, is going to work against you. So we are saying that you need to take personal responsibility of that learning and make it your own. And luckily today, abundance of content that you can learn is so vast on the internet. And unfortunately, for a majority of young South Africans, their interaction with the powerful technology that sits in the palm of their hand is limited to social media.
And I want to latch onto that, Yandisa, because a while back we had an economist in the studio at Trinity, when we made exactly the same point. When you look at the MOOCs, online courses that are pretty much available from universities across the world. I mean, but he was studying for a micromaster's degree with MIT that I can't quite recall. I'm doing a micromaster's degree now with the Technology University of Delft on electric vehicles. And this is quite pertinent, because when you look at the underlying enablers of the fourth industrial revolution, it's everything from energy storage to blockchain to electric mobility to the Internet of Things. It's a mass of things that we need to get our heads around, Yandisa. How do you convince young kids to do that? As Noah says, they interact with this interface called, you know, a mobile device, but principally for social media purposes.
That is so true what Noah is saying. It's like when you have a phone, somebody will just assume you're on social media. That's how it is. I said before, we just need to unlearn a whole lot of things that we've learned, because I think it's these engagements. We need to go out more as people in the industry, just to make sure that the word is out there. People know, especially these young kids, because now we're introducing a sector that they haven't really looked at. As I said, growing up, or the information that has been there is that you need to go and have a university degree.
Yeah.
And now you find out the jobs that are going to be created don't necessarily need a degree. Now you need to be upskilling yourself with the short courses, because the mindset has been that if you just do a short course, it's just a short course, it doesn't carry much value. Now when you start exposing all of this, the exciting part of this to say, this is what you can be doing, these are the career opportunities that are available. Imagine these are the apps, they all love apps, but can you know, how exciting would be for you to be able to build your own app.
Yeah.
It is a very exciting industry. It is so much that is happening that a lot of young people, but I think the information is not out there enough for them to understand exactly. And also just for us to change the perception of these even online courses, the short courses, because they add so much value.
Yeah.
Because before you were never told that, okay, do this short course. Only when you get to a working environment that you understand even the short course will empower you. Now it's just the chats that we have, the talks that we need. I think people like me, well, with the access to all these young graduates and young students, so it is just to go out there and have an expo, have these talks about the industry to say, this is what is happening, this is what's going to be happening. You're talking about this automation, there's Internet of Things. We look at all of these companies now that are playing in this space, and I'm sure every young child would be interested in that. It's just how it's been packaged.
Yeah.
No one has really gotten to it to say, what is this fourth industrial revolution? What is AI? To a terms that people would actually get excited about it and see it as an opportunity, because it creates a lot of opportunities for a lot of young people.
Well, Nell and Yanisa, thank you very much for joining us. That's been quite insightful. And that brings us to the end of the show tonight. Join us again tomorrow evening on Afro Worldview Prime Business at 8 o'clock. From me, Harold Bopalama, have a good night.